Now several children kick off their flip-flops and enter a small corrugated metal building.
In a village in Bangladesh, there's a one-room schoolhouse for the children of the poorest of the poor. Their parents are mostly illiterate, but they study geography, arithmetic, and English. They have dreams and ambitions, but they face tough odds. Every year, some 10 million children in developing countries like Bangladesh die from mostly preventable causes. This is the great paradox of global health.
We have developed the most miraculous tools for dealing with the health of humankind. But the best tools in the world don't make a bit of difference if they don't get out to where they're needed.
The challenge in the 21st century is to help bring those public health interventions and programs to as many people as possible, as quickly as possible.
A woman lies down on a stretcher.
Who wants to try it?
Overcoming the barriers to global health takes imagination.
The stretcher fits onto a motorcycle sidecar. Now a man gives out condoms.
It takes nerve.
Any sex act has to be safe. Let's not be embarrassed by the conduct. It's like if the teacher is embarrassed by the chalk, we get no lesson.
Building a new movement for health takes leadership.
We have great faith in people. We think that almost anybody could be trained. Given the right kind of motivation, they would serve their own people.
Now a truck drives through a tent city.
To champion each life takes compassion.
A doctor examines a boy.
You cannot treat all the cases, but you can make a difference, yeah.
Delivering the goods, up next on RX for Survival.
Images appear over a rotating earth. A doctor presses a toddler's abdomen, and an ophthalmologist gives a child an eye exam. More children walk hand in hand. A researcher looks up from his microscope, a needle stirs a vial of medicine, and a United Nations SUV drives in a city. Two girls smile joyfully, and a man leans on a walking stick. A title appears, RX for Survival, a global health challenge.
Major funding for RX for Survival was provided by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, working to ensure that life-saving advances in health reach those who need them most. And by...
If you ran a drug company, what would you change?
I would try to prevent disease, not just treat it.
I would go after the really tough diseases.
I'd make it so folks wouldn't have to choose between their groceries and their medicine.
At Merck, we believe in the same things you do. Because 50 years ago, George Merck told us to put patients first by creating novel medicines and vaccines and getting them to the people who need them.
I would try to see everything through the eyes of a patient.
Merck, where patients come first.
Titles appear, Delivering the Goods, narrated by Brad Pitt.
There are many barriers to success in global health. Some financial, some political, and one that lies right beneath our feet.
In a village, conical huts have thatched roofs.
In Africa, geography is an obstacle. Millions of people live in rural areas, tens or hundreds of miles from a health clinic.
A woman carries a bundle on her head. A man rides a bicycle.
Paved roads and public transportation are scarce.
More titles, written and directed by Gail Williamson.
And in a medical emergency, people have few options for reaching a hospital in a hurry.
Produced by Gail Williamson and Jill Scheinfeld.
One of the things to remember in many developing countries is just the absence or weakness of infrastructure. And by that I mean transportation links, I mean communication links, I mean human links.
Donald Hopkins, the Carter Center.
In Western Africa, in the Gambia, Sally Kamara lives in a remote village that has no ambulance. A month ago, her pregnant daughter went into labor and suddenly developed complications.
Sally holds a baby.
My daughter needed to go to the hospital, but we could not find a car in time to take her. She gave birth to this child at home, but with great trouble and pain.
4 days later, her daughter's pain grew unbearable. Sally managed to hire a taxi, but on the long drive to the hospital, her daughter died.
If we'd had proper transportation, this would not have happened.
Sally's tragic story, and thousands just like it, have moved the Gambian government to action. Its Ministry of Health recently signed a contract with Writers for Health. This non-profit organization runs transportation systems for health programs in Africa. Today, rare cargo arrives from its office in Zimbabwe. The founders of Writers for Health, Barry and Andrea Coleman, developed a special sidecar that transforms a motorcycle into an ambulance.
Men unload a truck.
They named the device the Uhuru, which means freedom in Swahili.
Barry Coleman.
This is the first one to come out of Zimbabwe into another country, and this is just the first country of lots of countries, I think.
It's made in Africa for Africa, and that's a really exciting idea for us.
Andrea Coleman.
So there we are. Who wants to try it?
The Colemans unload a stretcher. A man lies down on it.
The Uhuru can carry a patient lying flat or seated upright.
Andrea straps the man down.
How much better is that than going to hospital in a wheelbarrow?
Wheelbarrows are out.
We'll let you out now.
Andrea loosens the straps. Now a man sits in the sidecar.
The inspiration for this versatile vehicle goes back to the Colemans' first love.
4 motorcycles lean precariously to one side as they race around a track.
Andrea used to race motorcycles professionally.
The drivers wear helmets and racing suits.
Barry was a journalist who followed the sport.
2 motorcycles race inches apart.
In 1988, he traveled to Africa for an article about a humanitarian organization. The trip changed his life.
We saw all sorts of broken down motorcycles and much more expensive vehicles stranded out in some hospital compound. You know, a $30,000 vehicle stopped because there's an HT lead missing, a $15 part. So something very wrong with this picture. What are we going to do about it?
A rusty ambulance sits abandoned.
The Colemans founded Riders to help health organizations keep their vehicles running in places with virtually no service facilities or technicians.
Now a technician tightens a bolt.
Here in the Gambia, Riders personnel manage all transport for the Ministry of Health. They train local technicians to maintain vehicles and prevent breakdowns.
A technician examines a headlamp bulb.
They keep their own inventory of spare parts. A simple fan belt could mean the difference between life and death.
A technician selects a new fan belt.
Riders also promotes the use of vehicles that are appropriate for Africa, which means training health workers in more than just medicine.
Are you very scared?
A trainer walks alongside as a man rides a motorbike.
Feet up.
A trainee takes his first riding lesson from Mohale Moshweshwe.
Let the class go. Just let it go.
People come with preconceived ideas that they will not be able to balance, they will fall off.
I'm still holding on to you. Don't worry about it, yeah?
But everybody's born with a sense of balance.
You remember how to stop?
I used to be a health worker, and I've been in situations where I was not able to go to the people I was supposed to serve. So all in general, it means without mobility, an outreach health worker is almost useless.
Okay, off you go.
The trainee takes a solo ride across a dusty field.
That's the bit I don't like, because I think he's going to go all the way into the wall. Great! You can come back now.
Mohale trots after the trainee. Now a motorcycle travels through the countryside.
Learning to ride over rough terrain can take time. But for health workers who master the skill, it's almost like having wings.
The motorcycle cruises along a dirt road.
An off-road motorcycle can travel where a four-wheeled vehicle would falter, and at a fraction of the cost.
In a village, several goats scamper out of the way as the motorcycle stops. The rider waves to an elderly woman sitting on a bench.
A pair of wheels has become an essential tool for community health nurse Manyo Jiba.
Manyo takes off her helmet.
For the first 2 years, I was not having any motorcycle. There was no mobility. I used to walk to go and supervise my traditional birth attendants.
Manyo retrieves a portfolio and sits down on the bench.
But now, since I get the motorcycle, I